Oh, I guess I'm live. All right. I guess I'm live. Welcome, folks. Welcome to another live event. And we do those every week on Monday, except last week where it was 4:15 and we kind of look at each other and said, oh, weren't we supposed to be live? And we were kind of putting out fires all day and it just happened. So thanks for being here today. I see a lot of you that are here. I'm going to just say a couple shout outs to people. Let me see. We have, hold on, what's happening here? We have B, we have Desmond, we have Juan Pulido, Sam Pedregon, we have James, Brad, and what else? Big Vic, not the same as Vic Moss, just Big Vic. Why is my face weird on the screen?
Big head Greg.
Oh, it's Big Head Greg. Okay. All right. Get a lot of live events. There it is. And then James, we'll get to your thing. We have Jared Janisek. He's here from our mapping course. He's our mapping instructor. Welcome, Jared. It's been a while. Penguin, Buzz, USA Drone Flyer, Captain Joe America. Yeah, bunch of people. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining. We have a lot of questions to answer today. I don't know that there's been a whole lot of stuff in the news recently for drones. There's been a lot of stuff on the airplane side of things, but not necessarily on the drone side of things. We do have a bunch of remote ID modules that we're testing that came out not too long ago that at this stage, some of them are suspicious. We'll have a full report when we've done more testing, but yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff coming out with remote ID that we'll talk about in the future. And Dave Bear is here. You're not Chop Liver Dave Bear. You are Dave Bear. I didn't see you posting. It's because you didn't leave a comment, Dave. That's why I didn't see you. All right. Well, let's get started with the question because I see that we have quite a few of them already as it is. And okay. So Victor asked, he said, hey, Greg, besides mapping and inspection, can the Mavic 3E do photos and real estate? Yes, it's not what it's designed for, but it's got a decent sensor, and it's got, photo and video mode. So yes, you will be able to. Now, I don't remember if it has the ability to do log, and I don't think it does. So if you're a log user, you might not want to do that, but don't quote me on that 100%. But it's not a videography drone, but it does videos, and so you'll have still access to quite a few of the options in there. Otha Belcher says, hey, Greg, what is your advice on getting company contract with the 3T, the thermal drone? Getting contracts. So getting contracts with different companies requires that you find, how am I going to say that? That you find customers that need your service. And I know this might sound really obvious, but you need to define who your customer base is going to be, and then you need to be able to reach out to them. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. You can do that via ads if you have the ability to target your population, which might be difficult for thermal stuff. But the biggest thing is you're going to have to go and talk to people and tell them what services you're selling and what product you're selling. We were just at a trade show or an event a couple of weeks ago, and somebody came to me and asked me how they could sell their service. And I think what people don't realize is when we're in this world of the drone world, we get very accustomed with what drones can do. But the general public and businesses around don't know what drones can do. And so in some cases, you might be developing this cool website that has all this information on it, only to not be found because people don't know what drones can do, so they're not searching for that term. So drone thermography is not probably something that people are going to be searching. Now, thermography services, maybe, if that's what they want, but your job as a business owner is to go out and spread the word on what your company does, right? Your company solves a problem, and so you need to be able to go out and talk to people about what you do and try to sell them your services. So if you identify companies that need thermal services, then you need to go talk to them. We're talking about the companies that own solar panels, maybe, or homeowners that need home inspections, or home inspectors that need help with doing home inspections using thermal services. We're talking about doing power line inspection using thermal. So it also depends on the set of skills that you have. Do you know how to do these inspections? Do you know how to read the data from the thermal? So the drone is a tool, right? The drone is a tool in your toolbox, just like you have a hammer, just like you have a screwdriver. So don't go backwards. Don't buy the drone and say, well, what can I do with this tool? Find a way to offer a service, and then the drone becomes a tool. But you need to be able to capture that data and then analyze the data as well. So I hope this kind of answers your question. But yeah, how do you get companies? You need to go spread the word on the service that you provide. What should I do if I don't have yet Part 107 license but want to fly at night? Okay, you can actually fly at night as a recreational pilot. So you will need to get the trust certificate done. That's free. That can be done on the website, trust.pilotinstitute.com. And then you'll need to have a strobe light visible from 3 statute miles. Now you're going to say, where is that in the regulation for recreational flying? It's not really directly in the regulation. It's in the CBO guidelines, community-based organization guidelines. That's where you need to look, because each CBO, you have to find one and you have to use their guidelines. Each CBO has slightly different rules, but the majority of them have a requirement for having a light, and you should have a light on top of your drone. And then if you need airspace authorization, just get that and then go fly. But yeah, it's really no different at night other than the light requirement. Not a whole lot of difference there. Okay. Next question. Sam Pettigron says, I fly the original Mavic 3 using the RC Pro controller. Instead of using DJI goggles, can a separate monitor be used by a bystander just for viewing purposes? If so, which one and how? Sam, your best bet is to get an external monitor that can be battery operated and that has HDMI in. And there are some cheap ones online. They don't have to be high quality necessarily, but a portable device, we actually use one for a teleprompter. There's just a little HDMI receiver. It's not the highest quality. I don't even remember what we paid for it, but it's not that expensive. It's going to be cheaper than a controller. And then you'll basically be able to do that. And then plug in the HDMI out. The RC Pro has an HDMI out. You're going to go HDMI in into the other controller, and then they'll be able to review this. If you have access to power and a bigger TV, you can also do that on the TV. But any controller that has basically an import function or an HDMI in is going to work. You can do it with a Ninja. If you have a Ninja, I know they're pretty expensive, but we use them as an external screen for our cameras. So if you have a Ninja, for example, that's the perfect example. It's just a screen, you plug in a battery in the back, and it's got HDMI in. So that's what I would do. Gabby Ortiz says, I'm planning on getting the Mini 4 Pro. Okay, does it come with a remote ID module already? Ooh, that is a great question. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the Mini 4 Pro and the Air 3 from DJI. Why? Because last time I checked, which was a couple days ago, these two drones are still not approved on the DOC list, on the compliance list. And I'm actually going to go check one more time here to see if they were added in the middle of that discussion. But these drones are technically not, nope, Mini 4 is not in there. And then Air 3 is not in there either. These drones are technically not remote ID compliant right now, so you would need to put a module on top of them to fly them legally. Now, with that being said, the FAA has delayed enforcement for remote ID until March. So right now, I wouldn't worry too much about it, but the word is the delay is on the FAA side and not on DJI's side. DJI has submitted the paperwork. The FAA hasn't approved it yet. But in the meantime, if you have a module, put a module on top of that drone to make it compliant, or have a discussion with anyone that comes talk to you and said, well, there's delayed enforcement on remote ID, so I don't have to worry about it. But in any case, in the future, yes, this drone will eventually get approved. It is actually broadcasting the remote ID signal. It's just a paperwork nightmare. And I certainly hope that in the future, the FAA goes a lot quicker to approve these modules. or these drones, because as soon as they come out, DJI usually releases a drone and then starts selling it. And if it's not approved, then technically you'll have to put a module on it in order to fly. Okay. Trying to find out if this is James O'Neill, trying to find out if I can fly on Mount Evans, Colorado. Website says landing of aircraft is also prohibited, including hang glider, parasail, or drones. Can I land on my hand or on my car? No, you cannot. By extension, your hand is connected to your body, and your body is connected to the ground. So it still is landing on the property. So I would not do that. If they don't allow it, they can prohibit taking off to and from the that location. So no, you cannot. If they say no, I would not do it. Will you have a thermal course in the near future? Yes, we will have a thermal course in the near future. Jared said, what do you know about shielded operation in terms of getting BV loss? Jared, there is a way to get BV loss approval from the FAA, or BV loss waiver, if you include language that resembles the concept of shielded operation. Reach out to us. We can help you with that. Yeah, we can help you with that. So just reach out. It's a bit more complex than I want to go into here, but there is a way to submit that approval. Vic, actually, I don't know if Vic is on the chat or not, but there's a way to get approval to fly beyond visual line of sight within a certain height, and especially if you have higher buildings around. So we can help with that. Okay, CDP says, say you want to fly inside of a building, strictly inside of the building with a DJI Avata, but the building is very close to Class D towered airports. How would that work with LANs? The FAA does not control flights indoors. So as far as LANs is concerned, you don't need LANs. Now I'm going to add a little caveat here. If the Avata has the ability to pick up GPS signal from outside, it will eventually restrict you and tell you that you're in a restricted area. Well, very close to a tower, yeah. So if you're very close to the Class D, I would get approval from DJI to fly in that specific area and tell them that you're going to be flying indoors. I did this when we do our deep dive courses for airplane. We go to our hangar, which is right along the runway at a Class D airport. And what I do is I submit approval to DJI, and I said, I'm going to be flying here. In case I get GPS, then I don't want to be shut down. I did it a couple times where, because our hangar doesn't have windows, I can actually take off in here and it doesn't get GPS. But one time I went a little too close to the roof, and it actually was able to get the signal, and it forced me to land within 60 seconds. So just get approval from DJI. In the note, you can attach a PDF, and I would say, I'm flying indoors. That's all I wrote. I said, I'm flying indoors. And then they actually gave me approval, and then you can load it up to the drone. But from the FAA perspective, don't worry about it. Okay, next question. Hello, Greg. Can a person with Part 107 license get a permit to fly out of visual line of sight? So, yes, you can. That's called a waiver. So you would need to get a waiver to fly beyond visual line of sight. Now, with that being said, the waiver process is pretty in-depth, and so you'll need to have a good, you'll have to state your case to the FAA to make sure they understand how you're going to be doing flying safely beyond visual line of sight. So it's something that we're working on, actually. We're working on a waiver course where we can help you guys with figuring out how to submit these waivers over time. But you can still go on the FAA website, go on the FAA Drone Zone, and then follow the information there to try to submit that waiver. But fair warning, BV loss waivers are really difficult to get. We do have one for flying an 11-mile corridor in Arizona, but we have to have visual observers that follow the drone wherever we go. So we can go further than visual line of sight from the person flying the aircraft, but there still needs to be somebody following the drone in a car or in a vehicle, just to make sure that they have visual line of sight. Okay. Carrie says, I'm very confused as to flying around railroads that are active, but there are no trains around. fly all you want. There's no restrictions about flying near railroads. And as far as flying over trains, which are moving vehicles, you technically cannot fly over people inside of moving vehicles. So if it's a freight train, technically you can fly over them. I wouldn't fly very close to them. Some people have done that in the past and gotten in trouble because they were like touching the train with the drone. But if you're flying from a distance, there's absolutely no problem. I would say do not take off and land from the train company's property. Make sure you take off from public property when you're going to do that. The Bon Air is saying, why do I need to re-register as a recreational pilot with the FAA after I have my 107? I don't even know any CBOs. You only need to... Okay, so let me make this clear. As a Part 107 pilot, you can do any kind of flying, including recreational flights, following Part 107 rules. So I'll give you an example. If this weekend I go out with my kids and I want to do footage of my kids just for my own personal enjoyment, that would be a recreational flight. I'm going to do it under Part 107 rules. Why? Because I'm certified and I know those rules and they're easy to follow. I could also conduct that flight following 44809 rules, the exemption rules from Part 107. So if I do that, then I need to register my drone under the recreational side of FAA drone zone, and I need to follow those rules in order to fly my drone. So that's the only time where you would need to re-register your drone under recreational rules. Otherwise, just conduct your recreational flights under Part 107, in which case you don't need to re-register, you don't need to do trust, you don't need to do all these things, and you just follow Part 107 rules. So if you're already 107 certified, I don't see any reason to fly a drone recreationally at this stage. So, all right. And I know there's a lot of comments going in here, and I'm sorry I'm not reading all of them, but Jason is in the back room filtering all the questions. So I see that Ray Kelly showed up. Hi, Ray. And yeah, if you're, there's just so many comments that it's difficult for me to read all of them. And I want to make sure that I can answer all your questions. Okay. Is the Avata a good drone to fly inside for realty work? Yeah, the Avata is actually perfect for that. Go check out our friend Ken Dono from Original Dobo. He does a ton of footage indoors using the Avata just because that's what it's designed for. How long do the drone registration stickers usually take to arrive? We do them every single day of the business week, so Monday through Friday. So if you have not gotten yours in a while, reach out to us. I'm going to say this live, but USPS is not the most reliable service, so sometimes they get lost. I have a nickname for them, but I'm not going to say it live. Okay. How long do the drone... I just read that one. Unable to enter my remote ID on drone website. FA will not let me edit it. Do I have to delete and just start over? Yes, I'm assuming that you're doing this as a recreational pilot. So if you're a recreational pilot, when you go to the drone zone and you go to the recreational side, that's where you have to delete the registration from the current... It's not a registration, but it's your listing of drones in your inventory. I think it's called. In your inventory, you cannot edit the inventory. So delete it and then add it. It's free. So you don't have to worry about that, but just delete it. The downside is it's still going to show up as deleted on your list. So it's just going to make your list very long. But that's what I would do. Next question, where can I get a remote ID module? How can I set it on a drone so it's compliant? I'm trying to get as much information as I can for when remote ID finally arrives. Remote ID is actually here, by the way, so you should be compliant as soon as possible, even though enforcement has been delayed a little bit, but you should be compliant as soon as possible. I'm going to ask my team to actually give you a link to the remote ID video that we made on how to get the module. Actually, you know what? I think I have it as a shortcut here. So let me see if I can do that somewhere. Oh, here's my window. There you go, module. So go take a look at that. That's the video that we did on all the different remote ID modules, and that's going to help you figure out how to do this. I live near an airport. How do I get permission to fly for recreation purposes? you have to download an app, and I recommend downloading the app called Aloft. It's called Aloft Air Control. And from here, you'll be able to submit your LANS request. That's assuming your airport is LANS approved. So make sure that you go in there, download the app. It will tell you if you need to get permission, and then it will show you how to get permission. If you don't know how to use the app, it's pretty straightforward, but we have a free course on our website called Aloft Made Easy, and you can just go and see all the different things that Aloft can do, including showing you how to submit LANS approval. It's the same process whether you're flying recreationally or you're flying under Part 107-ish. It's the same process-ish. So that should help you. Okay, Aaron, is there a known reason DJI is sparse with their SDK and why it's often limited to certain devices? Yeah, quite frankly, the reason is greed. And I hate to say it this way, but that's 100% what it is. In the past, DJI used to have SDK for all their drones. All the drones are so high quality now that they could actually be used for a lot of different purposes, which means that they wouldn't be selling enterprise drones anymore. So mapping is a big thing, right? The Phantom 4 Pro was a prosumer level drone, if you want to call it that. And it had the SDK, so it was used forever, and it was a pretty cheap drone compared to, grand scheme of things, $1,500 to $2,000. But that means that they wouldn't be selling the Mavic 3 Enterprise. So I was at a conference, actually a DJI conference last year, and I asked their upper management, why are you not making the Mavic 3 Pro or the Mavic 3 available with the SDKs? And they said that's not what the drone is designed for, which I think is a big BS answer, quite frankly. It's totally capable of doing this, and people could be doing mapping using that drone without having to buy another drone. But that's a corporate decision. So unfortunately, that's too bad. And the downside with not having the SDK available is that now apps, third-party apps like Litchi, for example, can't really control the drone. So I feel bad for them. Now, Litchi is an awesome app, but I haven't opened it in a while because I don't think it's compatible with half of the new drones, even if that. So yeah, that sucks. Why? Personally, I think it's all greed, which is sad. One is saying FAA tracking number request. Request a foreign driver's license, not American. I've been in the country for years, not able to get it. Use your passport, Juan. Typically, a passport is the highest form of ID that all government will be able to accept. So you should be able to do this. There's no reason why you need to have an American driver's license. We have a lot of people that take tests without being U.S. citizens, or even living in the country. So make sure you go in there and change that to passport. I don't remember. I haven't been on IACRA in a while, but I know it's one of the options available in there. And by the way, creating a tracking number or what you're talking about is the FTN number, the FAA tracking number. That's what happens when you create your account on IACRA, on the IACRA website. So you should be able to do that right there. What's your backup app other than Aloft? Quite frankly, I don't have one. I think Aloft works just right. There's not many options available out there that I trust with my data. So yeah, Aloft, unfortunately, is the one that I'm going to recommend. When flying under Part 107, do I need to have original license or a copy is good enough? You need your original certificate when you fly under Part 107, not a photocopy. You need the actual document with you. Everything else can be printed. Your registration can be printed or even digital, but your Part 107 needs to be your Part 107. I was able to register my Air 3 with Remote ID using my serial number. However, I periodically get Remote ID errors. This happens randomly. Any thought on this? No, we haven't had issues. The only time I get a Remote ID error on the recent drones is when we first power it on. So it takes a little while to get GPS data, but by the time we are able to spool, then then it's good to go. So I'm not sure if it could be an issue with the drone in itself. So Tina, you might need to bring it back to DJI, send it back and get it worked on. Yeah, I see in there Panda Drone says I paid $25 for Litchi and only works with the Mini 2 Mavic 2 Pro. Besides that, no other drones work. Yeah, because I think after the Mavic 2 Pro, that's when they stopped doing these updates. Well, Mini 2, I think the Air 2S might be one of the last drone that had it. So yeah, sucks. Because that was a great app, quite frankly. It still is a great app, but Chris Duke is saying at homecoming halftime high school football game Friday night, 2 pilots flew Mavic drone over the crowd multiple times to record the festivities. Should this be reported, and so to who, or let it go? And that's always difficult. It's always difficult because you never know. You never know if they had approval, which is unlikely. As long as they weren't flying recklessly low and harassing people, I don't know that I would worry about it. If I saw them flying, I probably would be nice and just go talk to them without being a Karen or being, that guy. I would just go have a conversation with them, talk about drones, and then see if they're either careless, clueless, or careless or clueless. That's really one of the two, right? And if they're clueless, maybe they'll take some education, but otherwise, I don't know. I've only ever purchased DJI drones, but I get a lot of ads from Exo drone. Any suggestion on this drone? Yeah, Exo. I would say no, quite frankly. Exo drones are really expensive. Oh, there you go. Ethan saw the Exo question. This is the remnants of the Exo drones that they send to us. We get manufacturers that ask us to do reviews of drones. This is one of those that I flew the drone and I told them that I would not do a review because I didn't want to destroy their company, because I just didn't think the quality of the drone was there. So we used it for experiments. We actually cut the propellers on some of these to see how long we could fly with one of them, and then it eventually ended up crashing into a bunch of different things. Yeah, you can see this one had propellers cut out. It's not worth the money, quite frankly. The new drone that they're trying to push right now, I'm sure that's the one that you saw as an ad. That's a $900 drone, and you're better off buying a Mini 4 Pro, quite frankly. It's a Chinese drone. It's made by Hubsan. It's a repurposed Hubsan drone. That's really all it is. So it's not really high quality. The software is a pale copy of the DJI software. So no, I would say no on Exodrone, not a company that I recommend. Yeah, that's my take on this.
One positive is that one still flies.
That one still flies. Yeah, it does. I didn't even know that.
That one still flies.
Yeah, we painted it different colors. It's definitely, it's okay construction, but the price just doesn't make it worth what it is. You can get such a more powerful drone with a mini drone. $900 will get you a lot of batteries with the mini and much better quality from a company that's been around a long time. So what else do we have? I see Maddie's Drone World is here. Ray Kelly, Recovery Drone, USA Drone Flyer, Captain Joe America. Who else do we have? Any more questions? Put them in here. Jason will filter them. Oh, is it a good time to talk about Halloween? Okay. All right. Well, Halloween is next week? No. Is it? Yeah, I think it's next week. I should know. Yeah, it's in 7 days. So 8 days. Right. It is Tuesday next week. On Friday, we're going to be doing news update, and the team thought that I needed to dress up. Not my favorite idea that they've had, but they want to have my kind of outfit. If you guys are a fan of The Office, it's kind of the Jim outfit when he's a hole punch. That's my kind of Halloween costume. So they said that we will take suggestion from you guys and as to what I should be for Friday news update, and then we will be doing that. So whatever the most popular or the best one that we find, then we'll turn that. So if you have a comment, if you have a suggestion as to what it should be for Halloween, put it in the comment, and then we'll take everything under consideration. But I have final say. Ah, there you go. The first one is the one that we had talked about. says be an FAA guy. I can put an FAA hat on.
I think that's too scary.
I think that's too scary.
That's
yeah.
too scary.
Yeah. Could be the new FAA administrator. They need one pretty badly. That'd be scary for everybody working there. Oh, Dave Bear says FAA inspector. All right. Chris Duke says, I recently got 125 Hover Air X1 selfie drone, no GPS, no controller. I consider it a toy, but the FAA may not. Maximum height, 49 feet, 30 feet away, so not far. Treat it like a DJI Mini, register it. Chris, if you're flying this for fun, you don't need to register it. You do need to follow all the FAA rules, but it sounds like it is pretty much a toy. I wish there was regulation that said that these drones don't follow really any rules, especially if you can only fly as high as 50 feet. 125 grams is going to do nothing. So, yep, unfortunately, you do have to follow all the rules, but you don't have to register it and you don't need remote ID. So that's a positive. Sam is saying, account not logged in. Has DJI fixed this recurring problem from coming up? I have installed... I'm guessing you're not logged in and maybe you're trying to get airspace approval or fly in a certain area. I'm not sure why it would say account not logged in, because you can fly without having an account, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the issue is here. I've never seen that. Well, I haven't seen that. How can I grow my drone business outside of using a drone broker? The pay is just awful. Yes, the pay is awful. Market yourself. I mean, you need to go out there and you need to sell your service. So you need to find out who around you can be a potential customer. Go talk to them. What is it that you offer for a service? And go talk to your potential customers. Sell them your service, just like everything else, right? We do ads on Facebook, YouTube, in different places in order to sell our business. And so you should be doing the same with yours. It might be different methods. It might be local advertising. It might be just going to places to talk to people about what you do, stopping on the side of the road because you see a construction site and then go shake hands and tell them that you do drone progression or whatever it is. But yeah, you have to be out there. Is there a way to use another DJI Air 3 setting like spotlight to keep the camera focused during hyperlapse? There's a POV. There's a point of interest, POI, point of interest mode in hyperlapse. So when you go into hyperlapse, look at the settings. There's different ways that you can control the camera. One of them is a point of interest. So make sure that you check that out. What are your thoughts on FPV? What is a decent RTF brand other than DJI for FPV? Well, FPV is going to be either DJI or it's going to be a home built. So if you want to do a home built, search online. There's a lot of different videos on YouTube that will help you build your first one. We actually have a video that shows you how to build one for like $220. That actually flies well. You'll need to get goggles and you need to get a controller, which is going to be additional on top of that, but you'll be able to reuse that for different drones. But FPV is awesome. I mean, it's going to be something that where you can learn to fly the drone differently and test your skills at a higher level than you would with a GPS drone. But it's going to take, there's a bit of a learning curve. So you'll have to get motivated to get into this. You'll have to learn to tinker with your drone. You'll have to learn to solder. You'll have to learn to break the drone and then repair it and then fly it again. That's part of the FPV thing, right? When you fly these drones, that's what you do. So somebody's going to put a link. I think somebody already in my team put a link so you can watch that video. And that's going to help you get started. After that, it's just building up experience, building up expertise, and getting more comfortable. One of the advantage that DJI has with the FPV drone and the Avata is that it's got what we call the oh shit button. And so you can push that and it pauses the drone in flight. So in case you get inverted, you get into a position where you would crash otherwise, this will save your bacon. And then you can go back up and do it again and see why you did it wrong. So it's kind of like training wheels. Eventually, you'll probably outgrow the DJI drone because they're heavier and they just don't fly like an actual FPV drone that you built. But I think they're great for getting started and getting somebody's feet wet safely. without spending too much money initially. New to drone, and I just received my DJI Mini 4 Pro. What would be your best beginner advice? My advice, Kevin, is that you go on our website and you take our Mini 4 deep dive course. It's free. I'm not sending you to a paid course. It's free. You can go in there. You can learn all about the drone. We'll show you how to do your first flight, and then you'll love it. We also have a beginner's guide on YouTube for the Mini 4 Pro. I would recommend that you go and watch that. It's about an hour long, and it's going to give you all the tips that you need and to fly safely. So yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do. We help people. And I think Jason is putting the link right now in the comments. Next, have you looked at the Holystone Remote ID module yet? It is much cheaper than the drone tag. Curious if you have tested this one. Yes, we are. We received ours, and we are in the middle of testing. I am not going to tell you more at this stage, but I can tell you that I cannot recommend it at this stage. Let's put it this way. I'm not saying don't buy it, but I'm saying that I will not give it a recommendation until we are done with the current testing that we're doing. So that's all I'm going to say. I downloaded the update for Remote ID for my Mavic Air 2. I fly recreational only. Do I have to re-register my drone? James, you don't have to re-register the drone. You just have to go to the inventory in the FAA drone zone, and there you can add that drone with the Remote ID information. Nate Spencer says, if you have a recreational license and you want to fly at night, what do you have to do? So just to clarify, there's no such thing as a recreational license. There's the trust, which is a test that you do online, but it's not a recreational license. I know it's picky, but I just want to make sure that people understand that. In order to fly at night, you need to do trust. You need to pick a CBO, community-based organization, and pick one of their guidelines, and then go fly at night following their guidelines. You will need to have a light on top of your drone. I mentioned that early in the video, visible from 3 statute miles, and then go from there. So, yep, that's what you need to do at night. Eric says, new Part 107 pilot here, and I'm trying to decide between the Mavic 3 Enterprise or the Thermal. Want to be as versatile as possible. What would you recommend? Okay. The 3 Enterprise will have an advantage over the Thermal in that it has the mechanical shutter for the camera, which means that you'll be able to do mapping more easily, better quality mapping. So if you are going to be doing more mapping than anything else, then that's what I would do. Obviously, the T has the thermal. So if you have a thermal background, want to offer thermal services, then I would say go ahead and do that. So it all depends. I mean, they're completely different drones if you think about it. One has thermal, the other one doesn't. So it all depends on what you're going to specialize in. If you want to do some mapping, but mostly thermal, then the 3 Thermal is it. If you want to focus solely on mapping, then the 3 Enterprise is it. But yeah, I wish we had the ability to change those payloads like you do in Autel. Autel has the Evo 2, and you can actually change payload. So you'd be able to have a thermal camera, and then you'd be able to swap that for a better RGB camera on top of it. So, okay. Also, now that I have Part 107, I'm working more with our local fire district. Any suggestion on next step I should be looking at since working with public safety entity? I think I heard COA. Yes, we have a free COA course. I'm going to put the link right here for you to enroll. If you want to help them build a COA, that's what I would do. This will give you the ability to do things that are otherwise a bit more difficult, like flying slightly beyond visual line of sight, flying over people. You'd be able to do that using the COA. That's if they qualify to have a COA. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, but we answer that in the free course for the COA. So you'll be able to see quickly if they qualify for that. Other than that, yeah, that's what I would say. Best drone for firefighting. I'm guessing you're talking about just helping firefighters. Firefighting, I guess you could get an Agris and throw fire to the flames, but I don't think that's what you're asking. I would say the 3 thermal, quite frankly. 3 thermal, Mavic 3 thermal, Evo 2 thermal, or the I'm getting a brain fart, Matrice 30 or Matrice 300. That's going in price. The Mavic 3 thermal is great for most people just because it's a compact drone that's fairly affordable. And same for the Autel Evo 2 thermal or enterprise. I don't know what they call it. I don't remember what they call it. Okay, 640T. I'm sorry, that's the 640T. Okay. Recent Facebook poster claims to have a over-the-limit license to fly above 400 feet to monitor his livestock and his property. Have you heard of this? The FAA does have a waiver process to fly over 400 feet in certain areas. I don't think I've ever heard of anyone having one of those, but technically it's possible. It's also very easy to go on the FAA website and look at the waivers that have been approved and to see if that person actually has a waiver. So I don't know that you can search by name, but I don't think there are that many. It's 107 operating limitation. I'll tell you right here. It's 107.51. So that would be a waiver to waive 107.51. And so you can search the FAA waiver website and see who has a waiver for waiving 107.51. Although there is a lot of things in 107.51, including a speed limit and all of that. But yeah, that's where it would be located. What do I need to take to renew my Part 107 license? How soon should I get this done before expiration? My license expires February 19th. I would say early February or at the end of, actually, you can do it up to 6 months in advance, but I would go on the FAA website on, no, actually, I take that back. You don't have 6 months. I'm mixing airplane and drones. I would go on the FAA website in February, and because you have until the end of February to do this, even though your license doesn't expire, your currency expires at the end of the month. That's calendar month. So on February 28th is when you would do that. And so no later than February 28th, I would go on the FAA Drone Zone, on the FAA Safety website. Sorry, I'm getting tired. Starting to mess up. I'm going to put a link right here. It's ALC 677. And you're going to complete that. And then it's going to, you're going to complete that training, and then you'll get a certificate, and then you'll be good for 24 calendar months. Sorry, I don't know why I'm struggling with this. Okay, next. Can a person with Part 107 license get a lifetime waiver, kind of like an additional license for beyond visual line of sight, or do I need to apply for a waiver each time I want to fly BVLOS? You neither. Okay, so you will not be getting a lifetime waiver. You'll be getting a waiver that's good for X number of years that you will have to renew over time. But no, and no, you don't need to have one for each time that you fly, but you'll have to write it in such a way that it allows you to fly in different areas, which is going to be difficult. I want to make sure that people are clear that the FAA has a process for giving BVLOS waivers, but they're not just handing them out like candy at Halloween, right? This is something where you're going to have to prove to the FAA that you can fly safely without seeing the drone and without the visual line of sight. So you'll have to convince them. That's the goal of the waiver process, is to convince the FAA that you can do that safely. And it takes more than just writing a few words on a piece of document. It's going to take some research in how you're going to do it. Next, how can I tell if my DJI Mini 3 has remote ID or not? You can go into the top left-ish, like on the top left half of the screen. There is a way to click in that area, and it gives you kind of a status of the aircraft. And when you click there, it should say remote ID functioning correctly or something like that. And that will tell you that it's actually broadcasting remote ID. So I hope this helps. Okay. Wow. Caught up on question. That is a lot of questions. You guys have a lot of questions, which is good. I love it. Love answering all of these. What else do we have? People saying what? What do you think DJI did not allow the changing of cameras and the use of 2 controllers as they did for the Mavic 2 and Pro drones on the other drones later? That's a good question. I don't know why DJI stopped. The Mavic 2 Pro had the ability to have a body box system where you can have 2 controllers and one can be controlling and not the other. I don't know why they changed that. I think it's one of these things where they want you to buy the more expensive drones to get access to more features, to differentiate the different levels. I don't know. I thought it was a great idea for getting people started. So what else? Okay. Have we seen any good suggestion? I haven't been reading the comments. Good suggestion for costumes? Somebody wants me to be a drone for Halloween. Ooh. Bzz. What else? Okay, another question here. Just got here. What's the drone sitting on the table? Oh, this is the remnant of a exo drone. I don't recommend it. I'm going to take it off. That's another remnant right here. Okay. I have a Mavic 2 Zoom, and apparently it's going to get standard remote ID update in December. Do I need to re-register and pay $5? No, you do not, Jimothy. You will have to go and go to the FAA Drone Zone and edit the listing under Part 107, so you can find that drone, edit it, and then add the remote ID information. It should be free until March of next year to do that. If you're flying under recreational purposes, you go to the recreational side, and then you're going to edit your inventory. Oh, no, I'm sorry, you're not going to edit. You're going to delete that drone, and then you're going to re-add it, which is also free. So maybe you have to do both if you're flying a drone under both rules. I'm in the Part 107 class right now. The only section quiz that I did not pass the first time was the categories and flight over people, moving vehicle. Can you help clarify? I'm not going to, I think I mentioned it in the course. The flying over people rules and flying over moving vehicle is the most difficult set of rules that the FAA has created on the drone side, the most complicated and the most difficult to teach. And so I would say I'm not going to go over them right now because it's just going to take way too long to do that. But keep in mind that to fly over people and or people in moving vehicles, you have to have a categorized drone. And then for each of those, you need to memorize what the rules are for each of them. Some of them are limited by size, by weight. Excuse me. Some of them are limited by the amount of kinetic energy that they're going to produce when they hit someone. So I hate to say it this way, but keep watching the videos. Something is trying to kill me here. And then go to download the cheat sheet. We try to make the cheat sheet as simple as possible to help, because there is differences between hovering and not hovering over people. And then same thing for flying over people in moving vehicles, whether it's a closed site or not. So you kind of have to go through and make sense of each of the categories individually and what you can and cannot do. So it's a section that's going to take more than one watch in order to get it, just because it's that complicated. I'm not going to lie, I don't have all of them memorized. I have a cheat sheet that I use myself to go back, because there are so few drones that are currently approved to fly over people and moving vehicles that whenever a question comes up, I pull up my cheat sheet and then I look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, that's how it goes. Just because it's a complicated piece of regulation for absolutely no reason, by the way. Maddie says he's going to dress as Greg for Halloween. Good luck with that. That's scary. You want to scare all the little kids? What is the reason we cannot fly over national parks? You can technically fly over national parks as long as you're taking off from outside the national parks. The reason why you cannot fly to and from national parks is for multiple reasons. National parks are usually put in place for wildlife protection. So drones have access to places where wildlife is resting away from people, away from a lot of different things. Drones also have lithium batteries, which catch fire. And so typically you cannot fly in those areas because the last thing we want is a drone crashing and starting a wildlife fire inside of a national park, which are national treasures. And lastly, quite frankly, I don't like the idea of having drones buzzing around when I go to a national park. I prefer nature with peace and quiet. And I know there's a lot of people in some parks, but you can always get away. And the last thing I want to see is take pictures of mountains and then see a bunch of drones flying around. So as much as I love drones, I personally don't want to fly my drone in a national park. I think it'd be cool in some places, but I don't know. That might not be a popular opinion, but I like peaceful and quiet. Is it true that the rules of flying over people only apply to Part 107 flights? Yes, absolutely. The rules are under Part 107, so you can only do that under Part 107. None of the CBOs, community-based organizations, allow flights over people on the recreational site. So you cannot fly over people under recreational rules. Regarding recreational flying, does the FAA really want all potential aircraft added to the inventory? Since a module can be moved, I'm wondering how to deal with this having many aircraft. So, Chris, that's a great question. The way that you're going to do this, in your inventory on the recreational side, you have the ability to add a module as a module, not as an aircraft, but as a module. And then there, you'll be able to list that to be available to use with any other aircraft that are listed in here. So if you have drones that are not remote ID compliant out of the box, you're just going to put them in your listing. Yes, you do need to list all of them that you're going to fly technically. And then just put one of the module in there, and then you'll be able to use that. So that's the way that you're compliant with remote ID, is by having that module listed. I use a Dremel to shave plastic off my Mini 2 to reduce weight without compromising operation, and then add prop guards so that the drone weighs 248.5. Good to fly over people. Yes, technically, if you have a drone that's sub 250 gram that has prop guards, you're clear to fly over people. And if you fly over a large group of people, you'll need to have remote ID as well. But otherwise, yeah, you should be good to go. That's never heard of anyone shaving plastic from the actual drone. We have removed some of the weight from the prop guards, just like a little bit, just to make it sub 250. But never heard of anyone removing that. That's very crafty, I'm going to say. That's cool. Can you explain the purpose of the controller binding, when you can freely bind and unbind drone, DJI specifically? You cannot really freely bind and unbind unless you have the drone in binding mode and the controller in binding mode. Binding process is just that. It's like binding the key in your car to your car, even though you don't do that, but that's what the manufacturer does, so that it only works with your car, right? Well, the controller binding tells it that this is the controller that's going to control the drone. That's your owner, if you want. That's what's gonna control it. And so it's possible to use different controllers at different times with the same drone. And let's say that you broke your controller and you wanted to replace it. You have to have a way to bind it to that new controller so it controls only that aircraft. But like I said, it has to be done from the drone itself and from the controller itself, so the two of them can talk. So you put it in binding mode, and then it talks. It's like a USB device that you have on your computer, on your phone. You have to bind them first so that they can talk to each other. If you fly and capture footage recreationally and years later you get your Part 107 license, can you use the footage commercially? Yes. Remember, it's all about the intent of the flight at the time of the flight. So if you captured footage 2 or 3 years ago for recreational purposes, and then all of a sudden you decide that there is something good in there that you can use and to sell, you're definitely allowed to do this. I know it doesn't make any sense from a safety perspective and rules perspective, but that's how the FAA has it set up. What's the cheapest remote ID device on the market? The cheapest is, I think at this stage, it's the Drone Tag BS, and then you add a little external battery for it. I think the Drone Tag is $89, and then a little battery on top. Yes, there is one right now that's out, but we haven't tested it, so I'm not going to mention the name. That's around the same price, but I would go with the Drone Tag Mini, if anything, if you're looking for cheap. I have all drones that have no remote ID. Where can I find a list of vendors for those devices? I don't know if somebody put the link already, but that's the Declaration of Compliance website. I just put it down in the description. Go over there, type your drone, and you'll be able to see if it's compliant or not. Flaming Mantis Gaming says, one question, why can't you fly over cars? Like, I don't see that as a risk or anything, but why? The FAA is not comfortable that a drone is not going to fall out of the sky and then land on traffic. I can somewhat understand that. We've seen plenty of drones that run out of batteries, have a bad battery, whatever, and then end up crashing wherever they are standing and then coming down. If I was driving my car on the highway or anywhere at 70 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden, I never drive 70 miles an hour. What am I saying? 85 miles an hour. And then a drone comes crashing in the windshield. I would not like that. So that's what the FAA's argument is that because drones don't follow a maintenance process, they're not certified aircraft with the FAA. They don't want them flying over people and moving vehicles. Whether or not that's a good reason, that's up to you to decide. But that's why. How difficult is it to travel with a drone? I'm going to Italy in May, and I'm thinking about getting a Mini 4 Pro to take with me. It's not difficult in itself. You just make sure that you take the drone and the battery with you in the cockpit and, well, in the fuselage. You don't check it in. That's what I'm saying. And then make sure that you read the rules for flying in Europe. If you have a Mini 4 and you keep the small battery on, then it's pretty easy to fly. I went to France last summer, and I took the Mini 3 Pro at the time, and it was the easiest drone to fly around without having to do a whole lot of paperwork. You have limitations as to where you can fly. I couldn't fly over houses, and I had to stay, which was fine. I was in the country anyway. And but yeah, make sure that you learn the rules. And I don't know about Italy. France was pretty easy to find information. I don't know if they had a website in English, but I'm guessing they did. I can obviously speak French and read French, but I don't know about Italy. I know some countries in Europe have it behind a paywall. So to find the rules, you have to pay a fee in order to get in there. I don't know if Italy is one of those, but yeah, that's what I would recommend. Next question. Where is the best place to sell stock footage? Have you all tried it, and is it actually profitable? I think stock footage used to be profitable a long time ago, although I'm not an expert, but I think most people, I think it's one of those fairly saturated markets. I think a lot of these stock footage websites make money themselves by selling the footage. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe somebody can chime in that actually does that for a living. But from what I had read on forums, a lot of people have been saying that the time has passed for a lot of these. And yeah, we're getting pretty close on time here. So I'm going to say we're going to stop taking questions for right now. Yeah. All right. What else? What else are we missing? I guess we'll find out who won as to the best recommendation for costume on Friday, which we're going to be recording in 2 days. So hopefully it's not a too complicated costume. So we have time. Right across from us, there is a Spirit of Halloween store, but Ben is pretty crafty with making these kind of things happen. So
I think you should commit to one costume for every story.
One costume for every story. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Oh. All right, folks. Thanks for joining us. As always, we will be here next week again, last Monday of the month. And then the week after is going to be on the drones, on the airplane side. And in the meantime, if you have questions, leave them in the comments after this video goes live, and we'll answer them. And that's it. I think that's all I have. Thanks for watching. And I realized I never changed my shirt. So I'm wearing a Non-Pilot Institute shirt, which is pretty rare on these videos. But all right, we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching, and see you on Friday with the costume.